I am absolutely honored and privileged to be speaking to the toughest man in the world. And also, I might add, one of the nicest men in the world, Big Joe Egan. Thank you so much for talking to me, buddy.
Hello, Dan. How are you? My pleasure, pal.
I am
That
absolutely
title,
fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, I'm glad to say. That title came from Mike Tyson. We were sparring one day, and there was 4 white sparring partners this particular day, which was unusual because normally there'd be some black guys, but this particular day there was 4 white sparring partners, and he knocked 3 of them out. I was number 4. I got battered from pillar to post, but he never put me down. And at the end of the sparring session, Mike Tyson said, Joe Egan is the toughest white man on the planet. Far, far from it, Dan. I was the toughest white man in the gym that day. But what a compliment from a man like Mike Tyson.
I was going to say, what a thing to have said about you by, arguably the greatest fighter or one of the greatest fighters of all time.
One of the greatest fighters of all time, the youngest ever heavyweight champion of all time, 20 years of age, heavyweight champion of the world. I don't think that record's going to be passed, not in my lifetime anyway. No. But what a compliment from a man like him. Listen, if you're going to get battered, Dan, you might as well get battered by the best.
Exactly.
By the best. I shared the ring with Lennox Lewis as well, and it was an honor to share the ring with Lennox Lewis. I got battered by Lennox Lewis as well, but I stayed on my feet with Lennox as well, so I was able to stay on my feet with 2 of the best punchers of my era, if not the best punchers of my era, and it was an honor to share the ring with them. They achieved what every fighter dreams of achieving. Every fighter that climbs into the ring dreams about becoming a champion of the world. I dreamed the dream. I wasn't good enough to live the dream. I wasn't good enough to be champion of the world. I won 7 Irish titles.
I was going to say Irish titles,
Yeah, well, that was my world, and I won 7 of them, which was a great achievement. I won 2 under-19s, a junior and 4 senior Irish titles, and I boxed for my country many times. Yeah. And it was a great feeling to go out to box for your country with the national anthem being played, and to share the ring with the national champion of the country you are fighting. Because like I said, if you're going to fight the best and get beat by the best, it's no shame.
No, of course.
And I got beat by the best of my era, and like I said, it was an honor to share the ring with them. Yeah. But to be able to call them my friends as well, I've stayed friends with Mike Tyson. Oh bloody hell, Dan. Must be near 37, 38 years now. And he's been over to Ireland. He's been to Ireland. He's visited my mum.
I was going to say, he's been for a cup of tea with your mum, hasn't he?
Yes. Yeah, it was wonderful. You know something, Dan? He used to speak to my mum on the phone regular. And she used to go, oh, Mike, thank you so much for looking after my son. He was battering me week in, week out.
Yeah.
But she didn't know that, and she just knew that I was being minded in the Catskills. Cuss was alive, Manny and Camille, and Mike and Tom and Jay, and the Hilton brothers. I was well minded and well looked after. And like I said, the beatings that I took of Mike was only a few minutes every day. So the rest of the day,
I was wrapped
in cotton wool. I was wrapped in cotton wool. I was looked after. I was fed in a beautiful environment. Up in the Catskill Mountains, there's a myth that Rip Van Winkle slept for 40 years in the Catskills. That's the myth, the fable tale.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful and tranquil and peaceful. You could understand, somebody sleeping for 40 years up there.
Sure.
It was fabulous. And what a place to have a training camp, to run in the most beautiful mountainous regions. And then to be minded, to be fed, to be watered, and looked after, because fighters need looking after. People think fighters are the toughest men on the planet, and they probably are, and women. They've got women fighting now, and they probably are the toughest athletes on the planet. But they still need to be minded. There's a lot of things that can sort of cause them problems in their career. And if
a high pressure career.
Yeah, high pressure career. If they have issues, sometimes they don't fulfill their true potential. So they've got to be wrapped in cotton wool, protected from people that aren't there for their best interests.
Yeah.
Protected from sometimes protected from friends. People think, oh, why can you be protected from friends? Because friends want to bring you out and show you off as their friend, which is understandable.
Of course.
But there's so many sacrifices when you're a fighter that has to be made. Unfortunately, you can't go out partying, and you've got to lock yourself away You know, it's a short-lived life of a fighter.
Every fighter I've spoken to said that you've got to be narcissistic. You've got to just be in it for yourself, and you've got to be very single-minded in terms of what you want to accomplish.
What a way of putting it, yeah. What a way of putting it, yeah. That's right. That's you've got to be like that. I know narcissism. He fell in love with his own reflection. I know, but you've got to love. You've got to love yourself enough to sacrifice seeing loved ones. You know, I've seen fighters at Christmas time locking themselves away from their family and from their Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
You know, that's an ultimate sacrifice. You know, birthdays as well, birthdays and, you know, family weddings and things like that. You go into training camp, you're there for 3 months, and then for them 3 months, you've got to be a recluse.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to eat, sleep, train, and people that aren't prepared to make them sacrifices very seldom make it to the top. It's not always the best fighters that win world titles.
Yeah,
it's the fighters that are prepared to make them sacrifices. You know, that will train diligently, that will listen to their trainers, will get into the ring and spar with better fighters than them to learn from the better fighters. Some guys want to go into the gym and they want to dictate in sparring. They want to show how good they are. Yeah, well, that's as far as they're going to go. If they don't get in and spar with somebody that's better than them, then they're not going to learn.
Yeah.
You know, if you get in and you just beat up your sparring partner, you know, even Mike Tyson learned from fighters. Mike used to have fighters that would move and slip and weave and bob and dodge, you know. So when he got in with a fighter that wasn't prepared to stand and fight with him, he'd already learned from the sparring partners that ducked and dived and moved and weaved, you know, because that's what sparring's all about. You prepare and you learn for when the fight comes up so you can adapt to the opponent's style in the opposite corner.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes taking a beating in the sparring ring makes you an improved fighter. You know, it helps you. It also makes you realize that you're not invincible.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know, because sometimes when you have that attitude, I'm invincible, you cut corners with training. You think, I'm invincible. I don't need to.
Yeah.
Yes. To understand. And there's an old saying, fail to prepare, be prepared to fail.
Exactly.
You know, and like I say, these fighters that make these sacrifices, and I admire them so much. I respect the women now that are boxing and the men and the way they train and the way they live. And then some of them that are making weight, you know, that in itself.
That's
so
a task.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was a heavyweight, so I used to eat like a horse anyway, you know. But I was in the gym, Dan, when I was in Mr. Eastwood's gym as a professional fighter, and I used to watch Crisanto Espana, the world welterweight champion, Paul Hodgkinson, the world featherweight champion, Dave Boy McCauley, the world flyweight champion, Victor Cordova, the world super middleweight champion. I was training alongside these guys, and they were all making weight because they had a stipulated weight to fight at. I was a heavyweight, so there was no limit to mine. And I used to drink water. I used to gulp the water down, and then I'd look at them, and they were looking at me, and I felt so guilty gulping the water down in front of them because they were sucking on ice cubes to hydrate.
Yeah.
Because they had to make weight. And then people don't understand, you know, that aren't in the fight game. You try and run an engine of a car with no fuel.
Yeah.
The car's going nowhere.
Yeah.
With these fighters, they were limiting their carbohydrates so to keep their weight down. Yeah. So really, some of them are training on empty tanks.
Yeah.
You know, and then they'd weigh in 24 hours before the fight. They'd hydrate, they'd refuel, and then they'd fight 12 rounds. They were supreme athletes.
For sure.
You know, and like I said, them four that I mentioned, Dave Boy McCauley, Paul Hodgkinson, Crisanto Espana, Victor Cordova, Steve Collins, you know, another great fighter. I boxed Steve twice.
You fought Steve Collins when you were like 11 years old, didn't you?
Yeah, that was my first.
Did you fight him twice? Was it twice?
I fought him twice. Yeah, I fought him as 11. He beat me at 11, and I boxed him at 16. He beat me at 16. But look, he went on to win 2 world titles. He was the middleweight champion. He was the middleweight champion when he beat Chris Pyatt, and he became the super middleweight champion when he beat Chris Eubanks. Yeah. And he made some fantastic defenses. What people don't realize about Steve Collins is Steve had been out in America. He made a sacrifice. He left Ireland. He gave up a career as an electrician with Guinness. right? He'd a stable job for life.
Yeah.
You know, you get a career in Guinness. His father, God rest him, Pascal Senior, had worked in Guinness, and it's a family business. Guinness. They employ family members.
Yeah.
And if you've got a job in the Guinness factory, you've got a job for life.
You're set.
You get a trade. And Steve had a job in the Guinness factory down to his dad, and he trained electrician, and he gave that up to pursue a career in boxing. Chased a dream. Went out to America. He had a first world title attempt. He had the first world title attempt at Mike McCallum, and he lost on points. He acquitted himself so well against Mike McCallum.
Yeah.
Then he had a second world title attempt against, who was the second chap that he fought for the world title? And he lost on points again. And then he had a European title shot against Sombu Kanambe. So we had 3 major title shots while training in America, fighting at a Marvin Hagler's camp with the Petronellis.
Yeah.
And then by the time he came to the UK to box Chris Pyatt and Chris Eubanks, he was a well-schooled fighter that had sacrificed and given up so much. So he was so hungry to achieve greatness and to fill his bank with money, you know, because the rewards the boxers get can be riches.
Sure.
Can be riches, you know. There's been some sad tales of fighters going from riches to rags, you know, from rags to riches, then back to rags again, because people say, Dan, the fighters come from the gutter. I don't use that terminology. I like to use the terminology fighters come from very, very humble beginnings. And when you come from nothing and you've got the opportunity to make a lot of money, you have to go for it, you know,
of course,
because that's the dream of the boxing, to win the titles and the riches come with it, you know. But if you don't look after it, because a lot of fighters, as I said, come from very little, come from nothing. So when they do get the riches, they don't know how to mind it.
Yeah.
And then they end up losing it, which is sad to see.
Yeah.
Because it is the hardest earned money in the world, Dan.
Well, that's where you said, you know, having the right people around you, maybe to mentor and steer you in the right direction when you do start getting money in.
Do you understand? Mind you, you know, you've got to be minded. You've got to be advised. You know where I'm coming from, Dan. Yeah. And so unfortunately, some of these boxing promoters and boxing managers don't give the care that's needed to a fighter. Not them all.
No.
You know, my manager, Mr. Eastwood, was a very decent man, very kind man, and he looked after a lot of fighters, and I had a lot of time for the man. Tragically, he died now last year, but he was a very, very nice man, very wealthy man. He was a bookmaker in Ireland, and I always see people that are in the game that are managing fighters that they don't live off the fighter; they live for the fighter. Yeah. They live for the fighter, Dan. You know, when you live off a fighter and your fighter is a commodity, a piece of meat, it's not nice, you know. But when you live for something and you enjoy the journey with that fighter and you embrace that fighter, whether he wins or whether he loses, you embrace a fighter when he wins. Everybody wants to be around a winner.
Yeah, of course.
You see a loser and then you embrace him and you cuddle him and you say, listen, it wasn't your day today.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, we go back to the drawing board. And we'll regroup.
That's where long-term relationships are formed.
That's what it's all about, you know. I've watched managers walk to the ring with their fighter lose, and then walk out of the ring with the fighter to beat them. Yeah. Now, how sad must that be?
Yeah,
you know.
So disheartening.
I've watched fighters sit at press conferences with their manager, and their manager introduced the opponent as their man for the millennium. And the fighter that they're managing sitting there like a clown.
Yeah.
You know, and fighters are far from clowns. Yeah. I know some of them perform antics because it's the entertainment industry.
Theatrics,
and some of them
build it up.
Some of them perform. The entrances are magnificent. Nassim Hamed's entrance was out of this world. You know, it was an amazing entrance because it's the entertainment industry. Exactly. But he could fight. He could back up them entrances. You know, but then you get other fighters that get in there. They enjoy the sport. They know that their opponent is too good for them, but they still get in and they enjoy the adoration of the crowd. They enjoy the moment and they enjoy being part of the night and enjoy being part of one of the greatest sports, if not the greatest sports in the world. I'm biased being the next fighter.
Your own journey is amazing, though. So, Aladdin Island, and then starting boxing, and then traveling all the way to the US to train in boxing. And, as you said, sharing the ring with these greats in these golden age of boxing, where it's Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, Steve Collins, as you said. It's such an incredible story, both in and out of the ring, the life that you've led.
I've had an amazing life, Dan, and sometimes I have to pinch myself because I keep thinking it can't get any better, and then it does get better, and even now today, being interviewed by you, it's just lovely to travel down memory lane. I'm enjoying the chat, and thank you for having me on your show. It's lovely, because I really do love my life.
Yeah.
I love the path that I've chosen in life. All right, I didn't win the world titles, but even now I'm enjoying talking about sharing the ring with Mike Tyson. Yeah, he gave me some savage beatings. He made me cry many, many times. He hurt me many times, and I'm very proud to say still my friend to this day. And a lot of wonderful things have happened in my life because of the beatings that I took off Mike Tyson. And life is a journey. You create a path in life. Different people never get to fulfill the potential. Some people haven't got the courage to chase a dream.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. Some people, it's not that they haven't got the courage, but like Steve Collins gave up his electrical job.
Yeah.
He's steady safety net of a job to chase a dream. And I admire that, And some people, they say, "Oh, don't want to cut the apron strings of the family. They don't want to go out." Well, if that was the case, then some of these continents would never have been discovered.
Yeah.
These explorers that went out when they were told the world you fell off the edge.
Yeah.
The Columbuses and the Magellans and the Drakes and the great adventurers that took off.
Takes those special kind of people.
That's it. So you've got to chase a dream. If you've got any sort of ability at all, because we're all gifted with something, chase it. The worst that can happen is you fail.
Yeah, sure.
And if you don't chase it, you failed anyway.
It's very true, and that's such an amazing way to look at it.
Happen? Yeah. So chase it. I chased the dream. Yeah. I failed many, many times. I failed many times. I lost the world champions. I boxed at the World Championships, and I come out with a bronze medal, which was a major achievement in the Acropolis Games. Yeah. But listen, like I said, it was a dream that I chased. And now my boxing's over. At the time when my boxing was over, Dan, I thought, what do I do now? I was in sort of limbo land.
Yeah.
But I've always done security work. I left school when I was young. I stood on the doors of nightclubs. And
15 or 16, weren't you on the doors?
On the doors, was 15 years of age on the doors of nightclubs.
They thought I was 21. Joe. That's crazy.
I know. I was big and tough though, Dan, right? Because I got bullied as a child. My dad worked on the building sites in the UK, and I came over to the UK to visit my dad when I was a kid. And when I was 7 or 8 years of age, I made my Holy Communion in Manchester, and the bully boys tried to take my Holy Communion medal off my chest and held onto my medal. And I knocked out my 2 front teeth. All my years boxing, I only ever had 1 tooth knocked out. I got 2 teeth knocked out by the bully boys. Yeah. So I learned how to fight, Dan. My dad taught me how to box when I was with him.
Yeah.
He got me into the boxing gym, and I've got 4 younger sisters and 2 younger brothers. So when the bullies would finish beating on me, rather than them hit them, I used to jump in and say, "Don't hit them. Continue hitting me. Please don't hit them." And it got to the stage in my life that I could absorb punishment,
Yeah.
And the boxing ring was actually quite safe. There's only one man hitting me. Even if it was Mike Tyson or Lennox Lewis, it's only one man. When the bullies were hitting me, it was like a pack of animals beating me with sticks and bats and everything else. And I've had issues with bullies over the years. No one likes a bully. So I learned how to fight, and I grew up tough, and it was like my dad was away working all over the world. He was a good dad. He was a good provider. The money was sent home. Yeah. But my mum raised 7 really on her own, and
wow.
I had to be the sort of father figure for my younger brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But I've had a great life, and I'm still here to be able to tell the story.
Still here and still doing amazing things. Even if the boxing career is over, you're still doing incredible things with your speeches, authors, movies. The list of things that you do. Just you can just keep adding them up.
when it was over though, the boxing, I went into a sort of a depression because people used to say to me, I'm depressed, and it's to behave yourself until it hits you down, and it's like a sucker punch from hell. It can consume you, you know. I didn't really realize, you know, how many other things in life are so important. I was consumed by boxing, and then when it was over, I was in limbo land, and I went into a sort of oblivion. I didn't know what to do. I had the security work. I always had that safety net of the security work. I'm big, I'm strong, and I'm a good security guard. But I thought I don't want to end my days as a security man. I thought that was, you know, a means to an end at the time. I thought I'm going to make my fortune with boxing. It didn't happen. And then I thought, okay, what do I do now? And then I contacted a friend of mine in Birmingham in the UK, Paddy Finn, whose daddy had founded my amateur boxing club. And Paddy had to retire from boxing because of a trapped disc in his back. And he'd done ever so well for himself in business. He got his pub and property and stuff. And he said, Joe, come over and work for me. He said, manage my pub. And I did. I came to the UK in 95. I managed Paddy Finn's pub, the Dubliner pub in Digbeth in Birmingham. And I'd done 2 MVQ certificates, and I'd done a BII certificate, British Institute of Innkeeping, because I left school down with 2 swimming certificates. You know, that's what I left school with, you know. So my education wasn't anything special, you know, but I got the chance to do this. And then I managed Paddy's pub for 2 years, and I went in and got my own pub. I got the Lyndhurst in Erdington. I had that for 4.5 years, and put boxing shows on. Bunny Johnson, the former British heavyweight champion, the first black British heavyweight champion. He was the British light heavyweight champion and heavyweight champion. He came to my pub and he brought the Lonsdale belt, and Richie Wardle, the former world super middleweight champion, and Rob Norton, they came to my pub, and Ernie Shavers came to my pub. The heavyweight greatest puncher of all time. He came to my pub as well, my friend. So this is a pub in Erdington, on a housing estate in Erdington called the Lyndhurst Estate, just a working class estate. And these legends of the ring visited my pub and met the locals and put a Lonsdale belt on display, which is the most prestigious boxing belt in the world. The title of the world title is obviously the greatest achievement, but the Lonsdale belt is the most fabulous belt. It's gold. It's the most prestigious. It's the history of the Lonsdale belt, Lord Lonsdale. And British fighters that have won and retained and defended the belt get to keep it. I think you have to defend it twice, win it, defend it twice, you get to keep the belt. So Henry Cooper, I think, won 3 belts. He made the defenses, I think, 9 times or 8 times, and he won the belt outright 3 times. Eventually, I think he could have got it 4 times. I think he lost to Joe Bugner in a very strange sort of fight. There was people say controversial fight. Some people said Henry Cooper won it. Some people said Joe Bugner won it, but they had a fallout after the fight because Henry didn't like the decision. He fell out with the referee, and I think up close to his death, he made friends with the referee. They let bygones be bygones, and they shook hands. And that's a nice thing to do.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? Every fighter that I've met has been one of the nicest people I've ever met, in fairness. And, you know, when it's time to get in the ring, it's time to get down to business, but it's never personal. At the end of it,
no, nothing personal. It's only a sport.
Yeah.
It's only a sport. Promoters have to sell it as a fight, you know, so the public's imagination is captured. Because when the bell rings, it is a fight, you know, but people have to be, like I said, they have to be mesmerized on the build-up to the fight.
Yeah.
You know, to be engrossed, to be captivated. You know, these guys are going to eyeball each other. They're going to call each other names without being vulgar.
Yes.
I don't like being vulgar. I don't like dragging the sport into the gutter, you know. And you don't need to be vulgar. You can be. Muhammad Ali used to do it. He used to do it.
The master marketer that was,
brilliant.
The master.
He said to Sonny Liston, "You're too ugly to be the heavyweight champion of the world." Now, if that isn't the ultimate insult without being vulgar, you know, and then that captivated the public's imagination. They went, "Ooh, this is the most dangerous man on the planet." You know, and Muhammad Ali's just insulted him. You know, Sonny Liston, the beast of a man. Muhammad Ali, this young, brash, you know, confident, phenomenal boxer, is insulted this man. Oh, we've got to watch this. And people that weren't even boxing fans were just fans of Muhammad Ali.
Oh, of course, like you said, just his personality, his charisma,
Dan, charismatic.
You've met him a few times, haven't you?
4 times, Dan.
God, what was that like?
Amazing.
And
I was privileged and honoured to me, to be in not just the greatest man to enter a boxing ring, but probably one of the greatest men to enter the world. Yeah. You know, he was just a very, very special human being. Boxing was privileged to have him. He could have put his hand to athletics. He could put his hand to basketball.
He's an athlete, wasn't he?
He was just supreme. And a marketing dream, you know. And when I met him the first time, you know, I was in awe. My dad had met him before me. My dad had been in America a lot of years before me, and my dad had met him. And my dad had met him with my brother-in-law, who's a retired New York policeman now, my sister's husband, Joe Marcatelli. My sister Constance, her husband, just retired from the police. And my dad met him at, funny enough, was Steve Collins' fight. Okay. Steve Collins fought Reggie Johnson. He fought Reggie Johnson for the world title. I couldn't think of Reggie Johnson's name earlier on. But he fought Reggie Johnson for the world title. And my dad was at the fight because the Collins family are friends of ours. And even though I shared the ring with him twice, that's the great thing about the sport. You have friends in the sport that will last the test of life, the time of life, you know. I boxed Cathal Ryan in the finals of the Irish Championships. We won our way to the Irish final. He was the head doorman in the nightclub where I worked. Right. We battled the Irish final stand, then went to work on the door of the
night. And then got each other's backs the night after.
Coming in going, must have been a bad fight tonight. We were after boxing each other. At his wedding, and just the friendship will stand the test of time. But when my dad met Muhammad Ali, I was so envious of my dad. And he said, "Oh, God, Dad, I used to do an Ali shuffle as a tribute to the man." I idolized him. And then when I got to meet him the first time, and then got to meet him a second time and a third time, and then I went to his house in Michigan. Wow. Al Capone used to own his house.
Wow.
And I went through the gates of his house. GOAT, greatest of all time. Yeah. And to meet the man in his home, it was just, even talking about it is like, I have to pinch myself.
Got a huge smile on your face talking about it right now.
It was a dream come true on 4 occasions.
Yeah.
You know, and I got to shake hands with the man and talk to the man and be in the presence of greatness on 4 occasions. I've been to the Ali Center in Louisville. Yeah. You know, I met him in Washington, D.C. I met him in New York, but to meet him in his home in Michigan, like, it's just amazing. We were staying in Louisville, and we were at the Jimmy Ellis, an event with Jimmy Ellis, who was Muhammad Ali's boyhood friend. We boxed, and Rahman Ali was there, George Chavallo, Ernie Shavers, Ernie Terrell, loads of these great champions. But Muhammad couldn't attend because he'd had surgery on his arm. Right. But his brother was there, and Jimmy Ellis's brother, Jerry Ellis, said, "Look, we're going to see Muhammad tomorrow at his home. Would you like to come?" It was a 6-hour journey from Louisville to Michigan. Yeah. And I'd have walked on broken glass in my bed. Not meet that man in his home. I said, yeah, we were coming. It was just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I can only imagine. How did it start for you then? Just how did it... You know, like, how do you go from boxing in clubs in Ireland to then, you know, what was the progression like for you to then move it? Was it 17 when?
Yeah, I went out to America. I boxed a big Marine sergeant. He was a 28-year-old man. I was 17.
Yeah.
William Dawson, and he was too big and strong. He was a mature man. I hadn't got that man's strength, even though I was big and I was game. I've always game. And every fighter that climbs into the ring has courage. You know, you're born with courage. You can improve on skills. If you haven't got courage, boxing isn't for you. You know, you play football, you play golf, you play basketball, you play darts, you play snooker, but you don't play boxing. You know, boxing isn't a game. It's a sport. It's a physical contact sport. Like all physical contact sports, they can be very dangerous. You know, if they're done right, if the rules are adhered to and the medicals are all adhered to, it can be safe, but it's still a dangerous sport. It's a contact sport. Anyway, I went out to America. I was 17, and I got battered by William Dawson. But I gave a good account of myself as a boy against a man. You know, it was too much. Anyway, Floyd Patterson was in attendance, and Paul Fitzgerald, the featherweight, he won. He was very impressive in winning, the featherweight from Arklow. He beat a good American, and Floyd Patterson gave him the opportunity to stay on in America, and he gave me the opportunity to stay on in America. He said, "You've got a lot of courage." He said, "You haven't got the greatest of skills." He said, but we can improve on your skills. We can improve on your courage. You've either got it or you haven't got it. And you've got an abundance of courage. He said, do you want to stay on in America? I said, yes. I wouldn't have had the money to come back to America. You know, so I remember phoning my mum. My dad was already working in America. I remember phoning my mum. I said, Mum, I'm going to stay in America. Oh, son, she said, you'll never come home. I said, be home next year, Mum. Yeah. Anyway, I went to Gleason's gym. I sparred a couple of pro heavyweights in Gleason's gym. Al Gavin and Bob Jackson helped me in the gym. And they got the original gym off Costa Motto, one of the gyms they bought off years before. And they helped me in the gym. And I sparred Art Tucker. I can't remember the other heavyweight I sparred. But I gave a good account of myself. And Alan Bob said to me, there's a young heavyweight in the Catskills called Mike Tyson looking for sparring partners. I'd never heard of Mike Tyson. I didn't know who he was. He was 17, same age as me. I'm actually 7 months older than Mike.
Right.
So I was so happy to hear he was 17 because I'd been even Steve Collins was a year and a half older than me. Yeah. You know, when you're 7, that year and a half makes a big difference. And even when you're 16, that year and a half makes a big difference. You know? So I boxed older men and older boys. So I'd always been in with older fellas. Anyway, when they told me that Mike was younger than me, I was happy. And then when I went and met Mike, he was smaller than me. And he spoke with a bit of a lisp. And I thought, I'm older than you, I'm bigger than you, I'm going to batter you. But I realised he was knocking in centre. I didn't know this, you know. Stupid Paddy didn't know, you know. Yeah. And I was welcomed by Camille and Manny and Jay and Tom and the Hiltons. And it was just beautiful. It was like a home from home. And I walked and talked with Mike that evening. We ate food. And he took me up to the top of the house and he showed me all the collection of fight films that he had. He had access to one of the biggest fight collections in the world. Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton had the biggest fight collection there was. So Mike had access to that. Anyway, the cine reel, the old footage, and we sat and we watched some boxing that night. And he was saying, Joe, if that left hook had landed, it would have changed the whole history of that weight division. He was like a walking encyclopedia of boxing. And I was actually feeling sorry for him, Dan. I thought, I'm going to have to beat you up in sparring tomorrow.
You poor guy, poor Mike.
Hang on, I'm losing you, Dan. I'm losing you, pal. You've gone.
You're back, you're on.
You're back. No, you're gone again.
You're on.
Hang on. Where are you gone, Dan?
I can hear you, but I can't see you, buddy.
Can't see you, pal. Where
there
are
you go.
Gone? There you go, you're back. Anyway, the next morning, we got up, we jogged, ran for about half a mile with Mike, then he took off like a gazelle. He was a phenomenal runner. And I thought, that's it, you tie yourself out. I'm going to batter you later on. We come back to the house, we had our breakfast, went to bed for a few hours. Then the minibus came and picked us up to go sparring. Next of all, these big, powerful men all appeared. And they were climbing onto the minibus. And they were very, very somber climbing onto the minibus. So I thought, who are them guys? They were all other heavyweights. And I thought, okay, they're all going to box each other because they're men. Yeah. Me and Mike, our boys, are going to box each other. I'm on the minibus. I'm happy and relaxed. I had no fear at that moment in time because I thought, I've got the measure of this guy. I'm bigger. Yeah. I'm older. You know, I've been used to fighting older men. So I thought, he can't hurt me, right? But these men that were sitting on the minibus, very somber, they knew what was coming.
Dead men walking.
Dead men walking, yeah. Anyway, we got to the gym, warmed up, shadow box, bandaged up, cussed out with an okay glove up. And then I looked into the ring. And Mike was pacing the ring and he had his shirt off him, Dan. And I'm looking at this 17-year-old boy with a physique unreal. His chest, his neck, his arms. I hadn't seen his physique when he was covered up. Yeah. With his the day before and running the next day, you know, and it's just phenomenal. Come again, Dan. Phenomenal. Anyway, Cuss pointed to one of the big men to get in and spar. Oh, hang on. Phone call. For fuck's sake. Sorry.
That's all right.
Lost it. So he knocked that sparring partner Spark out. And I do tell people, I'm not ashamed to say it, I ruined a good pair of underpants at that moment.
That realization then. Like, oh, yes. Shit.
Oh, shit was right. I thought, there's no way a 17-year-old boy should have that power and speed.
Manpower. Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. Anyway, Cuss pointed to two more sparring partners. They got in. They were dispatched pretty quick. I was number 4. I got in. I got battered from pillar to post. But I stayed on my feet for 3 minutes. I got out. A couple more got in. And I was back in again shortly after that. And I'd done 2 rounds with him that day. And the madness, because most fighters have to have a little bit of madness in them, right? The madness in me, I thought, I'll get the better of him tomorrow. Wasn't my day today. It was never my day when I was with him. I got battered for nearly 2 years. It was never my day. But like I said earlier in the interview, if you're going to get battered, you might as well get battered by the best.
Exactly,
and I was honoured to share the ring with Mike Tyson. And I'm even more honoured to say that he's my friend. Yeah. You know, he's in my home. He's made my friends his friends. He's always done me so proud. My family have been in his company. My mom, my dad, my brothers and sisters. And he's just... I'll tell you this story now, Dan, right? I'll tell you this story now. For 22 years, he spoke to my mom on the phone, right? And he never met her, right? 22 years speaking to the lady on the phone. And this particular day, Mike said to me, "How's your mum, Joe?" I said, "She's not so good, Mike." I said, "She had a lump removed from her neck." No, she's a smoker. My Uncle Brian died at 47 with cancer. God rest him, he never smoked. And we're very concerned about this lump in my mum's neck. He said, "Joe, let's go and see our mother." So me, him, and Scott Welch, we landed in Dublin. Hysteria, mass hysteria. You know, Mike Tyson coming into Dublin, right? My mum had been released from hospital because there was a MRSI bug in the hospital, and she couldn't look after herself, so she was staying at her sister's house, my Auntie Linda's house, and my Uncle Dinny, who's now dead, God rest him. And we visited, Mike, Scott, and me visited my mum at my auntie's house. Anyway, when we were there, Mike embraced a fragile woman. So it was beautiful. This man can break bones with punches, and he embraced a fragile woman, and they just hugged, and it was so lovely to see. And like I said, she was saying, "Mike," she said, "it's so wonderful to see you and so wonderful to embrace and stuff." And they chatted. Anyway, Mike said, "Mrs. Egan," he said, "I remember on my 18th birthday," because I was with Mike when he was 17. And on his 18th birthday, he said, "You sent over a shoebox with some potato chips, Irish potato crisps, some money in an envelope," would have been very little money, "and some sweatshirts, probably second-hand sweatshirts, for my 18th birthday." And my mum said, "You remember that, Mike?" And he said, "Mrs. Egan," he said, "very few people have given me anything in my life." Yes, I remember that. Anyway, my mum started crying, and Mike embraced my mum. I started crying. Scott Wells got a lump in his throat. He got choked up. It was very emotional. I started crying. Mike looked at me and goes, "Joe, you're always crying." Because he made me cry so many times. Anyway, this is a man that could have been a billionaire athlete, the first ever billionaire athlete, 22 years previous, remembering a couple of packets of crisps, a couple of second-hand sweatshirts, and a few pounds in an envelope. Dan, you're a young man, but can you remember what you got 22 years ago? Were you even here 22 years ago?
Yeah, I was 8 years old, so yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. You got that young face. You got that young face. So, you know, can you remember what you got on your 8th birthday? You know, not everybody can remember 22 years previous. And a man that has had to go through what Mike Tyson has gone through, it shows you what it meant to him. A couple of packets of crisps, a couple of pounds, and a few second-hand sweatshirts. And that puts it all into context. Like, it puts it all into, even what he's achieved, Dan, I don't envy him for what he's had to go through. He had such a hard introduction into the world. You know, he was running wild on the streets of Brownsville at 10 years of age, you know, and tragic beginnings. Yeah. And then he's come through it. He's still here. Yeah. You know, he made a comeback. He's got rid of his demons. He's with a beautiful woman now, Kiki. He's got his children. Tragically, one of his children, Exodus, was tragically killed in an accident with the cord on the cross trainer. The cord on the child, 4 years of age, got strangled, and Mike was away working, and he lost a child. No parent should have to bury a child, and he kept it together. He didn't go back onto the drugs, and recently made a comeback in a fight against Roy Jones Jr.
What did you think
amazing.
to it?
Do you know something? It was lovely to see, because 18 months previous, I was with Mike in Dublin. We've been to Dublin many times, and he was like Billy Bunter. He'd put on so much weight, and he'd been smoking the weed. He'd been growing his weed on the Tyson Ranch, and he'd been living the life of I don't know, a party.
Not a fighter,
not a fighter, and he'd let himself go into such bad shape. And then he just got it together. You know, I spoke to him on the phone, spoke to him on the phone before he started his training regime, and we speak regular on the phone. And I wished him well. I wish him well in anything that he does.
Yeah,
I have such an affection for the man, and I was so happy to see the shape he got into, and the fight with Roy Jones Jr., a man of great achievements, 4 times champion of the world, middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight title. He beat John Ruiz, but heavyweight title. He never won the cruiserweight title. It always he never got that title, but to win 4 world titles at 4 different weights, a major achiever. And Mike Tyson had so much respect for the man. And I didn't think that Mike could pull his punches. I really thought that Mike was going to get in there and savagely attack Roy Jones Jr., who at this stage of his life didn't need that, and Mike got in. He showed so much respect for Roy Jones Jr., and it was a boxing match. Yeah. It wasn't a bam, bam, wham, bam, smash them up fight like Mike Tyson used to do. It was nice to see, and it gave people a chance to see a different side of Mike Tyson, a compassionate side of Mike Tyson. He accepted the draw with dignity, even though it wasn't a draw. He won the fight. He could have won the fight any round he wanted to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he carried Roy Jones, but he could have been more savage and maybe made Roy Jones quit.
There was a lot of talk about the rules, wasn't there, in the lead up to it, and what would they be allowed to do, what wouldn't they be allowed to do, how would it work, things like that.
Well, they adhered to the rules, which was lovely to see, because you don't want the sport dragged into disrepute. And Mike Tyson, who's had controversy in his fighting career for one reason or another, he didn't drag the sport into disrepute. He respected Roy Jones as a fighter. He respected him as a man. He respected him as a former champion. And he's mellowed with age. Mike Tyson has mellowed with age. I still wouldn't want to be on the end of one of his punches,
No.
Now, because people said to me, would you get back in? No, I wouldn't get back in.
Even his training sessions that he put online in the run-up to the fight, it was looking incredible for a man of his age. And for a man to go from, as you said, not being a fighter and not being the fittest and, eating a lot, smoking a lot, things like that, to then in the space of a few months, like maybe 3-4 months, to the level of power that he was smashing through all those pads, it looked like old Mike again.
He looked great. His physique came back.
Incredible, yeah.
Muscle has a great memory. And his physique came back. His speed came back. The power came back. And the desire came back, because he fell out of love with the sport, I think, over a couple of incidents that have happened in his career because of outside problems, And that's what I said. Fighters have to be minded early on in the interview. Mike had a lot of problems outside the ring.
Yeah.
He had problems with management. When I said it in my book, Dan, Mike Tyson launched my book in Canary Wharf. Cass Pennon published my book, Pennon Publications. And I said in my book, and I stand by what I said, we never saw the best of Mike Tyson. When Cus D'Amato died, the best of Mike Tyson died. A man at 20 years of age to be the heavyweight champion of the world. He hadn't even matured at that stage. Tragically, Cus could only see the fight from heaven. Cus had died before Mike won the title. And after Mike won the title, there's so many people jumped onto the Mike Tyson bandwagon that didn't all have the best interest of Mike Tyson, at heart. And he was led astray. And he lost. He lost to Buster Douglas, a fight that he should never have lost.
Yep.
He lost to Danny Williams in a fight he should never have lost. He lost to Kevin McBride in a fight he should never have lost.
Yeah.
And I believe he lost in a fight to Lennox Lewis in a fight that he should never have lost either, because of distractions and problems outside of the ring.
Life.
Life is full of so many obstacles and pitfalls. It's hard enough being an everyday, person going to work, but when you've got to fight for your living, the way Mike Tyson had to fight for his living,
and thrust into the spotlight as well at quite a young age.
Yeah, there's so many problems that occur, and it's just sad when Cus tragically left Mike. When he died, it was such a shock to the system of Tyson. The people that got involved with him then didn't love him the way Cuss loved him.
Yeah.
You know, and they were out for themselves. And Mike Tyson was abused by the management and the boxing organizations, because they stood idly by. You know, boxing organizations that sanctioned these fights, some of them people should be ashamed of themselves. They let Mike Tyson get into fight when he was in no fit state to fight.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And they're on about the safety of boxers. They've got to think of the best interest of boxers. They let Mike Tyson get in when he wasn't in any fit state to fight. Yeah. You know, mentally, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Physically, people say, oh, he looked the part, but mentally, he wasn't there. And it's not the sport to be getting in if you're not into the right frame of mind to fight, because you'll get yourself hurt. And Mike Tyson was very, very lucky that he didn't get injuries that would have changed his life. Yeah. You know, he could have been serious, because he was in with hard punches. Lennox Lewis.
Yeah.
I know how hard Lennox Lewis
I was going to say, you'd know. Yeah.
I know how hard Lennox Lewis punches. I know. Listen, Kevin McBride is no slouch either when it comes to a punch. Kevin's a 6'7", powerful Irish heavyweight. And he hit Mike in his last ever fight. I was at the fight in Washington, D.C. And Mike Tyson he wasn't in any fit shape to fight. Take nothing away from Kevin McBride. Kevin McBride beat what was in front of him, but it was a shell of a man. Danny Williams beat what was in front of him, and Danny Williams can punch. You know, Danny Williams a powerful punching heavyweight. You know, British and European champion. Yeah. And they were hitting Mike Tyson at will. McBride, Danny Williams hitting him at will. Lennox Lewis hitting him at will. You know, and sad to see. Even Buster Douglas was hitting him at will. You know, and it was tragic to see, because that's like hitting a moving punch bag. Punch bags don't feel a thing. Yeah. Men and women that are getting hit do. Yeah. You know, and for a promoter and for a manager to throw a man or a woman in no mental state to fight is wrong. It's cruel. Yeah. It's cruel. You know, because boxing is I'm not saying it's barbaric. It's far from barbaric. But they're modern day gladiators. Yeah. You know, they don't go in with a spear and a sword, but they go in and they punch each other. And to me, it's the best sport in the world. But they've got to be minded and looked after fighters. I can't emphasize enough, Dan. Sorry but Mike got used a lot in his career. And then to see him come back at 54 years of age and to look 54 or 53, how old is he? 54, I think? Because he's 55. Now, I think, yeah, he's 54 June 30th. Mike's birthday is June 30th. He's 55 June 30th. And him and my mum are the same birth sign. My mum's the 12th of July and Mike's June 30th. They're both the Cancer birth sign. Nice, and dude, just to exchange stories. But anyway, Mike to come back and to look so well physically, to speak so well mentally, to be able to give Roy Jones Jr. the compliments and the credit that the man deserved, being articulate, you know, being able to, because a lot of fighters at the end of their careers, that some of them have suffered too many punches to the head. Yeah. They lose the rhythm of speech and they say punchy, and they just, you know, too many punches to the head can have severe damage. But Mike was able to talk and praise his opponent and entertain. He's doing podcasts. He's doing interviews.
I've seen him. He's done the Joe Rogan and stuff, and so interesting, isn't it? It's just such an incredible.
I'm losing you getting there back. He's very, very interesting.
Yes,
he's a very, very interesting character, you know, and it's so lovely to see he's enjoying life, you know, and he might fight again. People are talking to me.
Yeah, what do you think? Next year, they're thinking maybe, aren't they? 2022.
Well, they're talking about different opponents, right? They're talking about
Holyfield mentioned.
Listen, him and Evander have a grudge, right? Because they've had, people don't know the history of Evander and Mike. They were on the Olympic trials team in 1984 at the same time. Right. Evander was the light heavyweight and Mike was the number 2 heavyweight against Henry Tillman. Yeah. Henry Tillman went to the Olympics and got the Olympic gold at heavyweight. Mike knocked him out as a professional. Evander went to the Olympics and got a bronze medal in 84. He knocked out the New Zealander Kevin Barry after the referee had said break. Right. And they disqualified Evander and he got the bronze medal. The Yugoslavian fighter was given the gold medal in the walkover in the final. And Evander never got to achieve his gold medal. He should have won the gold medal. Yeah. But because of a bit of controversy, the referee saying break when he threw a punch and knocked out his opponent. But Mike and Evander used to spar together in the 1984 Olympic trials team.
Right.
And they've always had rivalry, sometimes bitter rivalry, but rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, then when they boxed, and tragically, the fight got dragged into the gutter. Mike was saying Evander headbutted him, and then he retaliated by biting Evander's ear.
Yeah.
And it just dragged the sport into the gutter, really. And it's a shameful thing to say. But they've since made up. And there's an advert on television. Have you seen
there
the advert?
was, yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, that was funny. I thought that was, again, marketing genius.
Brilliant. The Foot Locker advert,
yeah.
where Mike knocks on the door and he brings back a bit of Evander's ear.
Yeah.
He said, Evander, I brought back your ear. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
How beautiful was that? Because when you say sorry, it gives you an opportunity for the people that you've upset or offended to forgive. Yeah. And forgiveness is a wonderful thing. If you can forgive, it's a Christian thing to be able to forgive. Yeah. You know, and Evander, I believe, has forgiven. Evander's a very religious man. Okay. When he signs his autograph, he signs a piece of the Bible that he's reading that day, and he signs a piece of the Bible with his signature. He's a very, very wonderful man, phenomenal fighter. Yes. And he's forgiven Mike Tyson. But I just think that the deep competitive spirit of both men from 1984, they've been rivals since, even though they weren't
going to bubble up again.
Yes. Yeah. And I think when they fight, there'll be no kid gloves. It won't be like Roy Jones. I think that'll be a venomous fight. I think that they're two proud warriors that won't pull the punches. And I just think Evander's 58, Mike will be 55 when they fight. I wouldn't want to see either of them getting hurt. And I don't think that they should fight personally. I think they've had their history. They've had their fights. Evander has been one of the greatest fighters, like Mike, of his era. He's been in some of the greatest fights of his era. And I think that his legacy is cemented in stone. And I think that if the two of them were to get in to have a sparring session, I just think it could get vicious. And I know the fans want to see that, but not at 55 and 58.
No, no one wants to get hurt.
Other fighters. Yeah. I think there's other fighters that Mike could get in and box. He could get in and box Buster Douglas in a rematch, and reverse that decision of the Buster Douglas fight. Yeah. He could get in and fight Kevin McBride and reverse the decision against Kevin McBride. And there'd be great interest. Kevin's a big 6'7" Irish man. You know, that was the last man to beat Mike Tyson. How good would it be for Mike to get back into the ring and have a chance to reverse that loss to Kevin McBride? You know, how good would that be? How good would it be to get in and reverse his first loss to Buster Douglas? So two men, first ever loss and his last ever loss. You know, that would be great marketing. And Mike could get in. And I believe, in my heart of hearts, that Mike could beat either of them in their rematches. And they could embrace. Kevin would make himself a lot of money. Buster would make himself a lot of money. Yeah. Mike would make himself a lot of money, give it to charity, because he gives so much to charity, Dan. Yeah. People don't know this. Mike Tyson gives fortunes to charity. You know, he doesn't look at me, I'm giving this money to charity. He's not one of these people. Yeah. He just gives it. He just gives it. Mm-hmm. You know, under the radar, he gives it. And I admire him for that. You know, he's not a glory hunter in that respect. Fantastic. And he gave his fight purse from Roy Jones Jr., gave a chunk of that to charity, and so did Roy. You know, and so many people benefited from them boxing. And when Mike fights again, which I'm sure he will, so many more people will benefit because he'll give that to charity as well. And it's the same as Tyson Fury, the current heavyweight champion of the world. He gives fortunes to charity, mental health. Yeah. You know, so does Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua gives fortunes to charity. Yeah. But they're off the radar when they're doing this. Yeah. And I believe that boxing doesn't just need great fighters. And I've just mentioned two there, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Ambassadors. But they're also great ambassadors. There you go. You know, for what they do. Yeah. You know, Tyson Fury has had a little bit of controversy with his gypsy views. Yeah. But you've got to understand that's his culture. Yeah. Do you understand? His gypsy views are different. It's like other cultures around the world. You know, you've got to respect a person's culture, their views, you know, and his gypsy culture, tradition, a woman's place is in the kitchen. That's what he believes. Do you understand? But it didn't go down too well in society at the moment after what the suffragettes did to get women equal rights. And I believe that women are equal to men. You know, women are flying airplanes, women are driving tanks, women are winning world boxing titles. Yep. A woman is equal to a man. If she wants to get into the ring and fight, if she wants to fly an airplane, if she wants to drive a tank, who are me and you to say she can't do it?
Fair play to
Let
him,
her do it. Understand?
Yeah.
But in a gypsy man's culture, a gypsy man's views, the woman's place is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And that was his views, and it didn't go down too well. But now he's mellowing a bit. Yep. He's starting to realise that there's more things that a woman can do than cook a dinner. You know, so he's starting to be loved by Joe Public, and rightly so. He's an amazing man.
Yeah, and the battles that he's gone through as well.
Oh, the mental health issues that he's had. I have so much respect for the man, because, like I say earlier on in the interview, your mind is a dangerous weapon. It can work for you or work against you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the same as the heart. The heart can work against you as well. You know, if your heart isn't in something, you know, it can affect your performance and whatever you do. And there's so many things that we need, not just our fists to fight. You know, and if you're not the complete package, if you haven't got all the gears all have to work in sync. All the coils of a chain have to work in sync. Otherwise, the machines won't work. And it's the same with the human body. If you're not in sync and something's not right, it's not the sport to be in, boxing, because you'll get seriously hurt. Other sports, you can go out the football pitch, you can hide away, and your other players will keep you, keep you involved. You know,
there's no hiding in boxing, is there?
The loneliest place in the world. If you're not right, it's the loneliest place in the world. And see, them 3 minutes when you're getting hit, it's the longest 3 minutes of your life. And when you go back to that corner, and you've got your corner man and your cuts man, who are amazing motivators, you know, they can lift your spirit in that minute's break in between rounds. They can lift your spirit. When I boxed Bruce Seldon, in 1988. He went on to win the world heavyweight title, and I boxed him in Atlantic City. And I'd been beaten in Atlantic City 4 years before. I got beat, and 5 years before, 4 or 5 years before anyway, I'm the previous American. And now I'm in against the #1 American, future world heavyweight champion. And I got battered in round one. I got destroyed, smashed to a pulp. And I come back to my corner, and my two cornermen, Mickey Hawkins and Jerry Hanna, they said, "We're going to retire you," understood. It wasn't the words I wanted to hear when I come back to my corner. You know, this was meant to be a motivational corner. You know, "We're going to retire you. We're going to retire you. We're going to throw the towel in." And I went, "No, you can't do that. I can take this punishment. I've took this punishment off Mike Tyson, and I've took this punishment off Lennox Lewis. I can take this punishment." And they let me come out for round two against the heads. The heads were thinking, "Don't let him out." They let the heart rule the head. They knew I wanted to fight. They knew I had one more round in me. And Bruce Seldon walked to the centre of the ring, and he couldn't understand how I was coming out for round two. I've just been battered in round one. I couldn't get near him in round one. He was too graceful, too fast. The bell went for round two, and he stood still down for that split second, and I landed a body punch on him. And I could hear the wind coming out of his sails. It sickened him. But it was the first punch that I was able to land on him. And thank God it was a good one. And it slowed him down. The body punch slowed him down. And I went on to win the best fight of my career. I beat the great Bruce Seldon, who went on to win the world heavyweight title. And I still talk about it. People say, "He never shuts up about it." I'll talk about it till the last breath leaves my body.
Rightly so,
Yes, I beat the heavyweight champion of the world. I never won a world heavyweight title, but I beat the heavyweight champion of the world.
And what a way to do it as well, from being like beaten in the first round and coming back,
in Atlantic City. And he was from Atlantic City. He was introduced as the Atlantic City Express. And he was a very special fighter. But on that night, it was my night. It was my night. And I'll talk about it till the last breath leaves my body.
Rightly
talk
so.
about it. And I'll talk about my times in the ring with Mike Tyson. And I'll talk about my times in the ring with Lennox Lewis. Because you know something, Dan? I've earned the right to talk about it.
Completely. 100%.
And yes, people say, "Joe, you never shut up about it." Well, get used to listening to it, because I'm never going to shut up about it.
I don't blame you at all, mate.
No, Dan. I listen. I'll dine on them three for the rest of my life. Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, and Bruce Seldon, and get Steve Collins in on a mention as well.
Yep.
You know, why not?
What was Lennox Lewis like then?
Lennox is nice. You know, I've had a little bit of controversy with Lennox of recent, but he's a nice guy. He's a phenomenal fighter, and he knows that I'm a Mike Tyson fan.
Yeah.
And my opinion is that when Lennox boxed Mike, he was a shell of a man. But Lennox beat what was in front of him. But I believe on a level playing field, I think Mike handled bigger men better than Lennox handled smaller men. Yeah. And I think that Mike would have got the better of Lennox. But take nothing away from Lennox, he's got the win on his record. Yeah. But I'm just a bigger fan of Mike and a bigger friend of Mike than I am of Lennox. But I have the utmost respect and the utmost affection for Lennox Lewis, because he is a wonderful man and a wonderful fighter. And like I said earlier on in the interview, it was an honor to get battered by him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not indeed? What was it like coming out of boxing then? So you said that, it was a bit of a limbo time for you.
It was hard, Dan. It was hard because I couldn't understand. I had a bad car accident and I couldn't understand.
Was that after a fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was after boxing and it was a bad accident. My sister, she's a chartered accountant, and her friend, David Mitchell, a doctor, he was on the bus. He travelled to watch me fight. I boxed in Belfast. I came back to Dublin that night and just had a bad car crash. A taxi at the coach I was on and shattered my shoulder, my jaw, my knee, and ended up in hospital. And Dr. Mitchell, who we dropped off not long before the accident, he came on duty the next morning in the hospital.
Oh, really? Saw you there?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Anyway, that finished my career. 12 years later, I made a comeback. Yeah. I needed the money, down. I was broke, and I wasn't really in any great place to fight, but I needed the money, and Have To was a horrible master, and I had to fight. And there was a big write-up in the boxing news. It said George Foreman made the comeback after 10 years. Big Joe Egan made the comeback after 12 years. To get mentioned in the same paragraph as George Foreman, one of the greatest fighters to ever enter a ring. Yeah. Oldest ever heavyweight champion in the world, won the world title at 45 years of age, beat Michael Moorer in the 10th round. Phenomenal fighter. Yeah. To get mentioned in the same paragraph as him. Yeah. But like I said, I needed the money. I made a comeback. A friend of mine, Dean Smith, he put the show on in Dublin. John O'Brien, the Thunderbolt, was top of the bill. I ended up fighting a friend of mine, Mark Williams, who had actually helped prepare for 2 of his wins. Mark hadn't fought for 2.5 years. I hadn't fought for 12 years. But we gave a good account of ourselves. The first 2 rounds were Mark's, because he was a little bit fresher than me. He'd been not so long out of the ring. The 3rd round, I come back to my corner at the end of the 2nd round. My corner man, Tony Mann, my old boxing coach, amateur coach, hit me, give me a slap, like I wasn't being hit enough by Mark. He said, he's miles head, he's punching at you. Wake up. Anyway, I forgot, Dan, when I walked to the ring, the fear of what it's like to walk to the boxing ring. Because I've been 12 years out of the ring, and I sat in the dressing room, and I was nice and relaxed in the dressing room. I picked the music that I was going to come in and fight to. I picked the music that day with one of my best friends, Steve Dawson, his Mrs. Anna. She helped me pick the song. I picked the Fuji song, Ready or Not, Here I Come, You Can't Hide. What a song
nice.
to enter the ring to.
Choice, yeah.
Anyway, Darren Corbett, the Commonwealth Cruiserweight champion, came into the dressing room. He said, Joe, the guy you're fighting's in the next room. Scream and shout, go, put the fear of God into him. I started laughing. I got my hands on the back of the chair, got my hands bandaged, and I'm laughing. And there was the picture on the Daily Mirror newspaper, back page of the Irish Daily Mirror, showing me relaxed. And I was so relaxed. Yeah. Next word, I said, okay, Joe, we've got to examine your bandages. The officials examine my bandages, make sure your bandages are okay. They stamped my hands. They said, glove up, glove up. The music started. I went blank.
Yeah.
They said, make your way to the ring. And I was so scared, Dan. The fear took over. 12 years out of the ring. And the fear. Anyway, I walked that walk. And I walked that corridor as an amateur. I boxed in the Burlington Hotel as an amateur. I've been in the Burlington Hotel many times. I knew the corridor.
Yeah.
I walked into the main arena to fight. I walked past the ring, and I'm walking out the doors. And 2 men tapped me. They went, Joe. I went, what? They said, you missed the ring. I had to turn back. See, if they hadn't tapped me, Dan, I'd probably walked out of that building. Straight out. The man only lived 10 minutes from the venue. I didn't want to be there because I forgot. The fear kicked in. And it is a horrible fear when you're sitting around waiting to fight. I remember my first professional fight, Dan, and I was at the weigh-in, and I'm looking around the room, and there's 4 or 5 big guys with tattoos and moustaches and beards and stuff, and they're macho-looking men. Yeah. And I thought, oh, geez, I hope I'm not fighting him. Anyway, they called me in to see the doctor. My heart was racing. The doctor said to me, you're nervous, Joe. I Stevie Wonder could see I was nervous. I was terrified. I went, yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, doctor. He said, well, I've just examined your opponent and he's twice as nervous. I thought, happy days, happy days.
It's all good then.
Anyway, I got in and down in that fight. And for the first 2 rounds, I got beat up. Come back to my corner. Tony Mann gave me a slap. He said, wake up. I went out for round 3. I won round 3. I won round 4. And in round 5, Mark was fighting like a warrior. He was a Trojan. 2 friends, but we were fighting hard. And he tried to slide along the ropes. And I've pushed him back into the corner because I needed him in the corner. I could hurt him in the corner.
Yeah.
I couldn't hurt him when he was moving. He was too fast. And as I pushed him into the corner, it dislocated his arm and his shoulder came out. He still tried to fight on, like Danny Williams did. Danny Williams won the British title when he stopped the fighter in the 10th round for the British title with his dislocated arm. Yeah. It's the warrior within us, yeah. You know. It's the warrior within us. Mark Williams had his arm dislocated, hanging, trying to fight me with one arm, you know. Anyway, it was too much for him, and the fight was stopped. It wasn't the nicest way to win, but it was a win, you know, and I retired on a win. And because I never boxed again after that, I really wanted to fight again. I was going to come out to America to fight Mike Tyson's on the card.
Okay.
And it was all set. I wasn't good enough to be a sparring partner for Mike anymore. Yeah. I spoke to Shelley Fink and I was going to come over and fight in America. And then this particular day, I wanted to spar one of my best friends, Steve Dawson, who I mentioned. That's his Mrs. Anna, who sorted out the music. Yeah. And we were sparring. We'd sparred many, many times over the years. And I was staying in his house. We're going sparring. His little boy Tristan said, got our sports bags ready. What are you doing today, Big Joe? I said, me and your dad are going to box today. He goes, who's the toughest? I said, your dad's the toughest man on the planet. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we went sparring like we've done many, many times over the years, Dan. And we got in, head-to-head gear on. I ducked into a punch and he caught me on the bone of my eye and he split my eye open. And I felt the blood running down my face. I was 38 years of age. And I just knew it was over. I just knew, you know, that one punch. And it wasn't even a venomous punch. This was one of my best friends. He threw with bad intentions. You know, he wanted to hurt me, but he didn't want to cut me. Yeah. You know, and he cut me to the bone. I went, I got the stitches in my eye. Come back to the house. Little Tristan's looking. And my eyes all swollen and bruised and stitched up. And he said, what happened, Big Joe? I said, your daddy cut me with a punch when we were sparring, Tristan. He said, you said he was the toughest man on the planet, like insult to injury. I just thought it was funny. But I knew then, Dan, it was over. Yeah. And then I was in limbo land again. Yeah. I thought, right. But I've come back. I'm Big Joe again, Joe the boxer. I've had a comeback. I've got a nice few £1,000 in my pocket. Yeah. And I needed that money. So I thought, what do I do with my life now? Anyway, a man called Ken Purchase. I actually spoke to Ken on the phone yesterday. He's a promoter in the Midlands and he puts on after dinner speaking events. Yeah. And he said, Joe, I've got Marvis Fraser and Joe Fraser, father and son. Joe Fraser, a great heavyweight champion of the world, coming over. You sparred Mike Tyson for the Marvis Fraser fight. Would you like to see them? I said, yeah, I'd love to see them. I said, I can't wait to see them. I'd met them years before and I said, I'd love to see them. Anyway, he said, Joe, would you like to share the top table with them at a dinner event in the Hilton Hotel in London? Yeah. I went, well, what? Anyway, I got to share the top table with Joe Fraser, Marvis Fraser, some other great champions. Wow. And when I was in attendance, Cass Pennant, who's the book publisher, he was in attendance. And I knew Cass was because he's a West Ham fan, and my nephew Tom's a West Ham fan. Right. And anyway, I said to Charlie Hale, the compere, how long have I got to speak? He said, 5 minutes, Joe. There's other champions to speak. Yeah. I said, give me 10 minutes. Please give me 10 minutes, right? 1,500 people in the Hilton Hotel in London. So he said, okay, 10 minutes. Anyway, I spoke for 10 minutes, but I directed everything at Cass because when I was introduced to Cass before the show, half jokingly and half holding earnest, Dan, I said, I don't know who you are, Cass. You're the book publisher. You might publish a book about me one day. And he said, let me hear what you've got to say tonight. So everything I spoke about that night was directed at Cass.
Prepping him.
Oh, yes. So after the fight, oh, my God, after the talk, I approached Cass. I said, what do you think? He said, you're a very interesting character. He said, come to my office tomorrow, he said, and we'll have a chat. So I went to his office the next day in London, and we chatted. And he said, if you can get Mike Tyson involved in your book, he said, we can get a book done. I phoned Mike Tyson straight away. Mike was in Brazil.
Yeah.
And I said, Mike, hey, brother Joe, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, Mike. I said, I'm with Cass Pennant. I said, and he wants to write a book about me. I said, will you help? And he come onto the phone to Cass, and Cass Pennant will tell you this. He said, anything I can do for my brother Joe, anything at all. And Mike Tyson done the forward for the book with his brother, Tom Patsy's stepbrother. He done the forward for the book. He came over and he launched the book in Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
Right? And it was one of the best, 15 years ago now. Yeah. One of the best days, nearly 16 years ago. 2005, the book was launched. Yeah. Right? And it was one of the best days of my life, other than winning my Irish titles.
Sure.
Right? And Canary Wharf Dan came to a standstill. Thousands and thousands of people there. People that queued overnight. I know everybody was there for Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson was there for me.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And there was all these world champions, Dan, in attendance. Barry McGuigan, he actually queued with his boy Shane. Barry McGuigan queued with Shane. There was Paul Silky Jones, Alan Minter, tragically, who's recently passed away, God rest him. Charlie Magri, Richard Dunn. Great champions in attendance, you know, all there to support other fighters. And it was, like I said, it was a very special day. And since then, Cass, he gave me a part in his movie, Cass. Yeah. And I got to play the landlord of the Britannia pub in Cass. Yeah. And when I was on the film set, I met Tamer Hassan, the actor. And Tamer said, Joe, you've got a great presence on screen. He said, would you not fancy an acting career? I thought, well, I've acted my way through a boxing career. I'll give it a go, you know?
Yeah, so, why not?
I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. He said, well, my agent could do something with you. I said, great. So he introduced me to his agent, Camilla Story, nice lady. And she sent me along for a casting for Sherlock Holmes, the first Sherlock Holmes film. Yep. Guy Ritchie and Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, Jude Law, Eddie Marson, Rachel McAdams. Rachel, who's recently since got the Academy Award for Southpaw.
Yep.
And I worked with Rachel. I got the casting. I went for the part of McMurdo. So I've gone in. They said, Joe, look into the camera lens, give an intimidating stare, say the line. So I've done that. They went, wow, you've got an amazing intimidating stare. I said, I've got to look into the eyes of Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis.
This is nothing.
Them. Yeah, to intimidate a couple of casting agents, no problem. Anyway, I got the part. I went along to Claridge's to the read-through. My friend Richard Grimes, he brought me down from Birmingham. And Richard shouldn't have even been there. We're in Claridge's in the big function room, big oval table. I'm sitting, my nameplate, Dan, next to Jude Law, Robert Downey Jr., Eddie Marson, Rachel McAdams, sitting opposite Joel Silver, the CEO of Warner Brothers, Guy Ritchie. And Guy said, Joe, I've been trying to get you in one of my films for a long time. I said, you're joking. I'm Robert Downey Jr. leaning. This is Iron Man. And he goes, Joe, you come with a fearsome reputation. I couldn't believe these people even knew me.
Sure.
Anyway, but they knew me through Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I travelled in the minibus to do the practice fight. And Guy said, how are things, Joe? I said, things are okay, Guy. I'm making ends meet. He said, has your agent told you much you're getting for the fight scene? I said, Guy, I never even asked. I'm just so honoured to be in your film. When he told me, Dan, it was more than I got in any of my professional fights. Really? I was deadly serious. I said, oh, yeah. I was deadly serious. I said, Guy, for that money, I said, Robert Downey Jr. can really hit me. You can kick me as well if you want to.
Do what you want.
Yeah, batter me. I don't care. For that money, I'd done a few weeks in hospital for that money, Dan. So he said, Joe, I don't want you being beaten up. I said, Guy, I've been beaten up for a lot less. No problem, Joe. He said, you're not getting beaten up in this film. And he gave me a part in the prison scene where I get called Big Joe. I get called my own name by an Academy Award-winning actor, Robert Downey Jr., in a Warner Brothers movie directed by Guy Ritchie, and has made all the beatings down that I've took in my life worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I've had some savage beatings.
It's all worth it for that moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm immortalised on that film. My mum is so proud because she never wanted me to box. No mother wants to see her son being beaten up.
Yeah.
She see me coming home, black and blue, busted up, stitched up, and used to break her heart, you know. But that's the sport, you know. But when she sees me in the films, I'm getting killed in the films all the time. Killed and beaten up. It's not real. 2 films I get killed twice in. People say, how can you be killed twice? 1 film, I get killed as a human being, turned into a vampire, then killed as a vampire. The film, I get killed as a human being, turned into a werewolf, and then killed as a werewolf. You know, but you know it's just not real. Yeah. I just posted the 2 films I'm in now. Yesterday, funny enough, I posted Avengement with Scott Adkins, who beats me up.
Yeah.
And in the scene, good film, Avengement, him and Craig Fairbrass. And then I just posted another film called Vengeance Retaliation with Vinnie Jones. and Stu Bennett. I get killed in that film, but I don't mind. It's only in the movies, and my mum loves it. And in the care home, she puts the DVDs on, and all the residents watch it. And I've been to visit her. I haven't been able to visit her now because of COVID.
Yeah.
But, please God, now it's the worst of it's over, and it's coming to an end now, please God. Yeah, please God. I'm sorry for the people that have died and lost loved ones. It's been such a sad year and a bit, and please God, there's light at the end of the tunnel now. These vaccines are going to make a massive difference,
Yeah, I think so.
And the world can get back to some normality.
For sure.
It's anyway. Well, don't talk sadness. Won't talk sadness. God
what's the plans for you then when the world does get back to normality? Do you want to focus more on the acting, the after dinner speeches, all of it?
All of it. I love the after dinner speaking events because I get to share the stage with former champions and to get applauded alongside men and women that have won world titles that I dreamed of winning, to get applauded alongside them and be introduced alongside them and to be able to tell my story alongside them. It's such a beautiful feeling. I've shared the stage recently with Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, the two current heavyweight champions. I've shared the stage with the past legends, even Leon Spinks, who tragically died there a few weeks ago. I shared the stage with Leon, and it's just a great honor. It's just a great honor. And the film sets, it's such a great fun. The top stages of the after dinner speaking events are fun, but the film sets are a lot more fun because there's different type of fun. The dinner events, you have to be, at your best behavior, and people want to listen to you speak, so you've got to have a sort of a code of conduct. But on the film sets, in the gun battles and the punch ups, it's wild, and it's
Wild
great.
West.
Wild, yeah. I haven't done a western yet. I'd love to do a western. Love to do. Oh, that's my favorite genre of films, cowboys.
Yeah,
I'd love to do a western. With the size of me, I don't think we've got a horse to carry me. I'm the only cowboy riding an elephant in the west.
No, just with the Bollywood then.
I've done films with actors that have done cowboy films. Yeah. I got the great feeling, wonderful feeling. I worked with Robert Vaughn. He's tragically not with us any longer. He was the last surviving member of the original Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
And I got to work with him in a movie called The Magnificent 11. It was a comedy remake of the cowboy film, but it was 11 football players. Irwin Welsh wrote the film. We wrote Trainspotting.
Yeah.
And it was 11 football players making the stance against the criminals, and I was the Robert Vaughn's henchman who was playing the criminal, and he was wearing his big Stetson, and it was an Indian restaurant that we were bullying, so it was like the Cowboys versus the Indians. It was a Sean Pertwee was in it, Paul Barber, Denzel of Only Fools and Horses, Danny Midwinter. Oh, some great stars in it, and it was a great fun to work on that film. And I had a big punch up, Sean Pertwee, who's in Gotham. He's done some great stuff, Sean. He attacks me with 3 or 4 other guys and they jump on me. It was just great fun, It was like a playground. Some of these film sets are like playgrounds, Dan, and I've had gun battles, punch ups, oh God, you name it, I've done it. But like I said, I haven't done a cowboy film yet, but I've worked with actors that have done cowboy films and done some of the greatest cowboy films of all time. And please God, I get to do a cowboy movie soon. But I've got a couple of films lined up.
Okay.
Done an audition there recently, last year, over the same as what we're doing now. I've done an audition over the phone.
Yep.
And it's a movie called Cabby. It's an 18 million euro robbery film. It's like an action-packed film. There's the big American star from Sons of Anarchy, Kim Coates.
Charlie Hunnam.
No, not Charlie. Kim Coates.
Oh yeah.
He plays Tiggy. He plays Tiggy in Sons of Anarchy. He plays Lex. He's an ex-American Special Forces that comes to the UK, disillusioned with America, runs a nightclub in the UK, and I play one of the security guards in the venue. And then Malcolm McDowell plays Mr. Angel. It's a phenomenal script. And Catherine, the German director, I'm sure will do an amazing job. And that's hopefully going into production now, April, May this year. I can't wait. I've done the audition. I got the part. The script is one of, if not the best scripts I've read. And I've read a lot of scripts. It's phenomenal. And if it can come across on screen as good as it does on paper, it's going to be a fantastic movie. But I think with Malcolm McDowell and Kim Coates involved, and Catherine, the German director, it's bound to be a surefire hit, you know.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple of other movies that I'm hoping to do as well. There's my agents, you know, negotiating deals at the moment. So fingers crossed. But the parts are getting bigger, Dan, with experience. You know, I get to play the tough guy.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to live the life of a tough guy. I've had to walk that walk into the boxing ring, standing on doors, being a bodyguard. You know, so I've had to live that life. So to portray a tough guy on screen is quite easy. You know, it's not that I'm any great actor, you know, but to play a tough guy on screen is quite easy, you know. And even though I get beaten up and killed most of the films, you know, I still get to be a tough guy for a short length of time in the film. But the parts are getting bigger with experience. I don't think they're ever going to give me a love scene, Dan. You know, I don't think I've got the.
You're not going to be the Irish Hugh Grant.
No, I don't think that part's ever going to come my way, you know. But I'm enjoying. People say you're getting stereotyped. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. I like I said, I'm not any great actor, but to play the tough guy, it's all about believability, and I think I played the tough guy very, very well. Because, like I said, I've had to walk that walk.
Oh, the tough guy, mate. So yeah,
you know, I've had to walk that walk, and I think I'm entitled to do it on screen. I've earned the right. I've earned the right to play the tough guy. You know, it's not something that has come easy. It's gone very, very hard, Dan. You know, it's gone very, very hard. The beatings that I've took from a boy and as a man, you know, haven't been easy. You know, they've been endured, but they haven't been easy. You know, but
led you to
I've
this
had plenty of stints in hospital. You know, and questioned, what am I doing this for? But then as soon as you get better, you want to do it again. You know. And it's just the love of the sport, you know. And like I said, the fun that I had when I was on the doors of the nightclubs, you know, I worked with some great guys over the years on the doors of the nightclubs. I had a lot of fun, and doing the bodyguard work, I've had a lot of fun. You know, I've had a wonderful life, Dan. And please God, like I say, I'm here for a long time to come, because every day gets better. You know,
I'm sure you will be. Yeah.
You know.
Joe, you're an absolute superstar. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, Dan, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure, pal. Thank you.
I've got to give Titch a shout out as well for organising this interview.
Yes, fair play to him. Fair play to him. He's been a good friend over the years. He's been a good friend over the years. When he was with Speedy Hire, I was introduced to him a number of years ago. One of my very, very close friends, Mike Higgins, he was Titch's good friend as well. Tragically, he's not with us any longer. He took an epileptic fit and tragically went too young. And heaven gained what we lost, you know. But Mike Higgins, God rest him. But Titch, thank you very much for the introduction to Dan.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Titch. Amazing. Thank you so much, Joe. It's been an absolute
pleasure.
Honor. Definitely check him out in all of his movies, grab his book, etc. You know, just read more about his life and check him out. It's been amazing. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks very much, Dan. All the very best, pal.
You
Bye,
too.
mate. Stay safe and healthy.